living with purpose, not pressure. Why do we choose God's calling over other people's expectations? In a world full of pressure from school, work, social media, and even friends, how do we hold on to God's calling when expectations are so loud? No matter how old I was, I always felt a pressure to feel perfect, be perfect to others. I wanted to be that person that makes others smile, and I wanted to seem like nothing was ever wrong. When I joined Soul Survivor, I really tried to put on a face, but then I was truly open to God's heart. Later on in my journey, I decided to join the Panto and see how God was moving throughout all aspects of the church. Little did I know I'd be blessed with the best friendship I've ever had. I was able to learn that there's no pressure in our performance, but it's those that love us that shine God's love for us. I was also able to grow knowing that even when we had differences, such as my cerebral palsy, we are able to help others with a variety of experiences. I've been pushed out of my comfort zone many times, helping not just my faith grow, but hopefully inspiring others. And I hope everyone here knows that even though they're different, they can inspire others too. Sometimes it's hard to recognize God's calling, especially when life pulls us in so many different directions. It's easy to follow trends, opinions, or peer pressure, and forget what the Word of God actually says about how we should live our lives. Often we care more about fitting in than standing firm in God's truth, even when it challenges the culture we live in. Galatians 1:10 says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." It shows how we don't look at our Bibles or look to the world around us as much as we should. The trap of people-pleasing. We live in a world where we compare ourselves with others, resulting in our everyday lives feeling like a performance. You look on social media or go to work or school or even church, and everyone puts on a face because they feel the pressure to appear their best. But are we modeling our lives after Christ? Or after someone chasing likes and followers? It says in Matthew 6, verse 1, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others, to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven." The intent is to tell us that true service to Christ requires resisting the pull to please others. This does not mean to not post on social media, but to be humble in your actions. And remember that what you should do is to worship the Lord and not please people. Jesus is saying to check our hearts and ask ourselves, are we doing it for him or are we doing it for his recognition? Genesis 3:6 states, "When the woman saw the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it." Though this verse is about the fall of man, it shows how easily we are drawn in by what looks good to others, even when it's not good for us. It reminds us that following the crowd, even into sin, is a temptation as old as Eden. It's human, but that doesn't mean it's holy. God made us with free will. Knowing we'd make mistakes, knowing we'd want to please others, we all need to ensure that we are following his word, but also to know that when we do make mistakes, he will forgive us. And we don't need to feel guilt from them. God's purpose is personal and unique. Jeremiah 1:15 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." That tells us something powerful. God's purpose for your life was intentional before you even ever existed. You can look at all the stories in the Bible, like John, Mary, Ruth, Moses, Noah, but every single one is different. God knows that you're able to make a beautiful impact on the world because he made you for that purpose. We often look around ourselves and see the strengths of our friends and family, but everyone's so unique. I look at my family and I see so many differences between us. I'm a performer, my brother plays football, my sister's good at art, and everyone's just smart. But God designed us to be like that. And he put us together as he knew we needed one another. I can also see how everyone is using their gifts. What can really make it hard to motivate ourselves is when we are unsure of what God works so well to give us. I especially look at myself and question what God wants to use me for. I was born with cerebral palsy, and for years it gave me challenges, and I thought it would drag me down. And I wouldn't be able to glorify God with the passion of dance that I have. I wanted to see my plan, how God was going to use this. I mean, we all have moments where we want to see the big picture of our life. And God is the light to our plan, but he's not a floodlight where we can see everything. He's just a glimpse of light. Our journeys are something that we shouldn't know everything, but to know him in everything. Trust him through our lives because we have a testimony for a reason. I'm able to stand here and be proud of all that I have achieved. There's so much I could say about my life, but all I know for sure is I would not be able to stand here and say I climbed a mountain or performed multiple shows, and I not just have the Lord to thank, but I have all my friends and family. Without power of prayer and worship, I wouldn't have discovered my purpose. But with all the different journeys I've been on, I wouldn't have been able to know his true plan. Everyone's lives are unique and so beautiful to see how God uses them. So make sure you look in your own lives and think, how has God used me throughout? Living for an audience of one. Sometimes life might feel like you're hiding your true emotions or putting on a face to please people. You might make sure you have a smile on your face because your friend's had a bad day, even though you've had one too. But you don't have to put on a face for the Lord. He knows everything you feel. We don't need to put on a show for others. We need to live our lives for the only person watching, our Creator, who knows our every move and is prepared to help us. He knew our every move before we did. We also need to make sure that we live for his story. And if we feel a calling to do something, to follow it. God gave me a calling to help future generations learn the love of God. And I took on that journey, and in September I'll be studying youth ministry. But God also gave me a passion, which I've been doing forever. He gave me a passion to perform, a passion that has been hard, but also brought me so much joy. I joined a performing arts company in year 6, and I just performed my last show with them a few weeks ago. I thought I was doing the show for the company, for my friends, for my family, but I wasn't. I was doing it to worship God. I let God take the wheel during the show, and I made a few mistakes, but it gave me so much more joy and peace throughout. I feel like God gave me this passion because I needed to learn how he can bring me peace and show me that I can do more than I believe. If you look at the show I did, it's not one that I would necessarily recommend to everyone, not one that anyone would expect, and you wouldn't want anyone to see you after you performed it. The show was Cats, and no, I didn't just have a little whiskers and nose. I had face paint on that once I got home, it took me 20 minutes to get the face paint only out of my ears. But because of the strength of God and how he's given me a beautiful company to do the show with, I was so proud of everything he had given me the chance to do. Everyone in the cast thought me and my friend were crazy because we went to Sainsbury's in our makeup to get drinks for everyone. Yeah, that's what I looked like for a solid while. But I felt the calling of God saying I was beautiful. Even when I didn't feel great, because I did look like that. I didn't go to prove a point or to just go out my comfort zone, but because the Creator gave me the confidence to do so. So you may have a bad day, and you have to go out after to the pub with your friends, but you don't want to because you've had a bad day and you don't feel great about yourself. God will still call you beautiful, still call you his son or daughter. Even though we get approval from others and help others as the Lord tells us to, do it for him and for his love. God will love you no matter what, so don't forget to listen to that, instead of worrying about what your mates think. We live our lives for him. He is our audience and will love you no matter what. 1 John 3 verse 1 says, "Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." God chose each of us for different reasons, even when we feel at our lowest. It's like if you were asked, do you want to ride a horse or a donkey? And most people pick a horse because donkeys are smaller or weak. But Jesus chose the donkey. God chose Mary to ride a donkey to Bethlehem. We are unique. And even when we are looked down on, God still wants to choose each and every one of us. I saw 3 quotes on Instagram that I love to encourage everyone to use in their journey of living life with Jesus. Always pray. It's the most powerful tool against worry, doubt, and fear. Don't ignore the signs you ask God to show you. And everything you owe to God. We are all children of God. He had a purpose for us, so live for him and him alone. And although I found purpose through others, friends, family, but ultimately we need to live through Jesus.